Hello and welcome to ME Live. I'm Mathilda Mallinson. It's Thursday, the 30th of April, 2026. Today, Israel abducts another aid flotilla. Israel has illegally intercepted 22 of the 58 vessels making up the Global Sumud Flotilla, a humanitarian mission carrying 400 civilians towards Gaza.
We're required to change your course. Any further attempt to sail toward Gaza places your safety at risk.
What happened next involved drones and armed raiding parties as Israeli commandos boarded, seized and vandalized boats in international waters late last night. Israel says it has taken 175 passengers into its custody. Some of the remaining vessels have sought safety in Greek waters, with others left stranded at sea due to engine damage inflicted during the raid. The attacks took place off the coast of Crete, over 500 nautical miles from Israel's shores and over 1,000 kilometers from Gaza. To put this into perspective, the October flotilla interception occurred 278 kilometers from Gaza. This is Israel's most far-reaching naval incursion yet. I'm joined now by Huwaida Arraf, a Palestinian US human rights attorney who has been one of the primary organizers on previous flotillas to Gaza. Huwaida Arraf, are you surprised by this dramatic expansion of territory into which Israel seems willing to encroach?
Yes and no. This is the first time that they have abducted flotilla activists this far away from Gaza or anywhere near Israel's shores, but it is not the first time that they have attacked the flotilla very far from anywhere that Israel has jurisdiction. Last year, in May of 2025, Israel launched an armed attack on one of our vessels, the Conscience, which was in Malta. It was off the coast of Malta, only 14 miles from the shore. So it was in European waters in Maltese territory, about 2,000 kilometers from Israel. And Israel bombed that ship twice. And it had civilians on board and it was preparing to leave to Gaza. So this is an expansion in a sense in that there is an active kidnapping in addition to its attack on our vessels. And it is a direct result of the fact that Europe, the entire world, does not hold Israel accountable. When Israel bombed our boats in Maltese waters, violating Maltese airspace to send a drone to drop the missiles on our boat, Malta said nothing. The European Union said and did nothing. But this is also an attack on these European countries. Those vessels were flagged in in Poland, France, Italy, Spain, and Slovenia. So this was an armed attack by Israel on these 5 European countries. What are they saying and what are they going to do about it?
Yeah, it is interesting. So Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, she has condemned this interception. Notably quiet is Greece, against whose coast or off whose coast this attack has happened. How do you feel about the comments coming from European leaders at the moment? Do you expect to see any join Meloni in condemning the attacks?
We need them to join Meloni in condemning the attacks, but we also need more than lip service. We actually need these condemnations to translate into actions. And one of the first things these countries can do is actually sanction Israel. They can stop their ports from being used to transport weapons to Israel that enables Israel to do this to these civilian vessels, and of course to continue its assault and its genocide on the Palestinian people. It's something we are calling for. It's something that we are going to continue to act, to demand of our country. It is absolutely shameful that for decades, Europe, the entire world really has not taken action against Israel to enforce international law and to protect the Palestinian people from Israel's aggression and now genocide, but that these countries do nothing to protect their own civilians, do nothing to defend their own sovereignty. So we do expect, or we will demand, not only statements from these countries, but actually action.
Now, I know that this interception has come surprisingly early for organisers of the flotilla. I mean, even as we speak, there are boats waiting ready in European harbours that were preparing to set sail and join the flotilla. So this is a record in Israeli terms, in terms of how early and how far from their own territorial waters they are willing to impose their naval blockade of Gaza. This is, of course, also happening at quite an unpredictable geopolitical time. The regional war in which Israel is implicated is very hot, specifically in Lebanon, where Israel has just ordered the evacuation, I should say the forced clearance of 8 Lebanese villages beyond the so-called buffer zone. Do you think that this geopolitical situation has anything to do with the emboldened nature of Israel's attack last night?
Well, it is definitely Israel's modus operandi, right? We know that they committed and continue to commit a genocide in Gaza, and they are repeating these kinds of actions of ethnic cleansing, of attacks on schools, on medics, on homes, wiping, razing entire villages because no one is stopping them. Done it in Gaza, they're going to repeat it in Lebanon, and then there's going to be another country that is next, which is the same also that's been happening to the flotilla in terms of the expansion of its aggression against international civilians, again, sailing peacefully in international waters. Israel does repeat, and it escalates, and it needs to be stopped. Israel needs to be stopped.
Okay, so let's take this conversation to its basics. Israel says that its nautical siege on Gaza, which has been in place for nearly 20 years, well, Israel says it's lawful because it exists to prevent the smuggling of weapons to Hamas, and it's a proportionate response to existential security threats. That's Israel's position. Huwaida, you are yourself a human rights attorney. Talk us through the legal counterpoint.
Yes, absolutely. Israel has no right to enforce an unlawful blockade. And there is little question that this is an unlawful blockade. 2010, Israel illegally launched a lethal assault on a flotilla that I was on, killing 10 of our colleagues. An independent fact-finding commission commissioned by the UN Human Rights Council investigated, and one of the first findings is that Israel's blockade on Gaza is unlawful. And that is because it was having and is having a disproportionate harmful effect on the civilian population. And we've only seen Israel tighten its blockade, and after October 2023, specifically started using it to engineer a famine, started using it as a tool of its genocide. And again, there have been no consequences on Israel. This is only one of the legal analysis under which Israel's blockade is unlawful. The other, the International Court of Justice told us in July of 2024 that Israel has created an unlawful situation in the occupied Palestinian territories, that is the West Bank, Jerusalem, and Gaza, in that its occupation and control of the territories is unlawful and needs to immediately end, dismantling all its settlements, dismantling any kind of control it has over the whole of this territory. And the International Court of Justice said that this situation is unlawful. It denies Palestinians their fundamental right to self-determination, and that right is due to Palestinians now, yesterday, not contingent on any kind of peace process and not dependent on any kind of conditions that Israel will put in place. Palestinians deserve their freedom. So Israel, always using the guise of security in order to starve, ethnically cleanse, and genocide the Palestinian people, is rejected. It is rejected in law. The problem is that our politicians still allow it. So when Israel says it has taken action to enforce a lawful military blockade, that is a blatant lie.
Huwaida, you have previously faced interception and detention by Israel. What can families of those on board expect them to face?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I have been repeatedly attacked on missions like this. There is every reason to be concerned about the treatment of our colleagues and loved ones that are in Israeli custody against their will. This is an abduction. We don't know at the time where they are being taken. We think they are being taken to the Israeli port of Ashdod. Previously, on the last flotilla last year, I was on two boats specifically last year. When flotilla volunteers get to port is when the violence gets even more extreme than is experienced at the water at the hands of the military. We need diplomatic intervention now. Israel needs to know that the world is watching, and these countries cannot stay silent about the rights of their civilians. And these countries are responsible for the safety and well-being of their civilians. And I will repeat that their civilians were sailing peacefully and lawfully in international waters, which they have the right to do, and their governments are responsible for their safety. We suspect that they will be assaulted and harmed. We don't know what their condition is right now, and so that's why it is important for families, friends, to get on the phone with the Foreign Office, with the U.S. State Department, and demand that these countries demand of Israel and threaten Israel with sanctions if any harm comes to these civilians.
Huwaida Arraf, thank you for your time. And for everyone watching, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're following us on social media at Middle East Eye. You can email meelive@middleeasteye.net. Hit subscribe to stay on top of all of our coverage.